Thanks for checking out a new episode of Bad Advice with Chris Cubis, the show where unqualified people give unsolicited advice. This week I'm joined by comedian and rock star Mike Wiebe and comedian Mike MacRae. We get into all kinds of stuff: nosy neighbors, judgy quilters, bad traumatizing parents. It's all fun. Give it a listen. Thank you guys for coming back and listening to the podcast and leaving those nice little 5-star joints on the Apple Podcast. We appreciate that. I am joined today by two hilarious, interesting folk. Up first, you might know him as the lead singer of Dracula's or the Riverboat Gamblers or a hilarious comedian or a podcast host. Mike Wiebe's here. Mike, how's it going?
It is going good. I went outside for the first time and met people last week, and it feels insane.
Did you go to like a bar? Like I think I've been to a total of 4 like patios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I had like an outdoor brewery show that was like more of like a, like acoustic and kind of stripped down thing. And then the next day I just went to a comedy show, just saw some friends and like hung out and stuff. And immediately was like, all right, I don't know if I'm ready to do, not out of like fear of germs, just out of psychic, too much like stuff.
Stimuli.
Yeah.
Word. It's the social. Let's bring our other guest. We'll get him in on this so we can all have this conversation. Yeah. You know him. You love him. Hilarious podcast. Comedian. You know him from the Jimmy Dore podcast. All kinds of voice work. Give it up for Mike MacRae. How's it going, Mike?
Good. I actually... I'm doing a lot better than I was a few days ago. I didn't get COVID, but I guess in my walking around outside with a mask, I don't know, my like venturing out, I got fucking like norovirus or some shit. I thought that's my first thing back. Well, okay, you didn't get COVID, but you venture out, you get this fucking horrible. I thought it was food poisoning at first, but I couldn't figure out what the hell it was. And then I see on Twitter other people in Austin have this shit.
Yeah, my wife had it.
Oh, are you serious? Okay,
yeah, for real. And it was like she thought it was food poisoning too. And I don't know. And
all these other viruses are like, dude, boys, now is the time.
Yeah,
these motherfuckers.
They're all thirsty too. They're all horny Twitter users. Yeah.
Well. I think like everybody's been so like safe and cooped up that we've kind of insulated our immune systems from getting anything. So I think maybe people are like just getting sick from like, they've just been so cut off and not built up that just the regular ass viruses are able to like, you step out and you meet one person and it's like, bleh, the shits.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I'm not sure if that's how.
Well, I am.
I don't know.
You guys know that. I mean,
I don't know that I'm taking science from anyone with that mustache, Mike Wiebe, but
I know it looks bad.
No, the mustache looks good if you're talking about like Bob Seger records or something. Yeah. But I don't know if I'm taking.
No. Professor Foghat here knows what's going on.
Come on, man.
I've not gotten sick, but I do agree, Wiebe, that the social interaction of going back into the world is fucking wild. My fiance Maris and I went and got some food at a local place outside, sitting on a picnic table. Ran into a friend there, and I just did not know how to handle it. I was just like the most awkward, like kind of having a conversation, kind of hoping you would leave. It was very weird.
Yeah, because there's like, I definitely miss like, the person I love seeing, but there's a whole spectrum of people that, not even that I necessarily don't dislike seeing all those people too, but like people that you just like, yeah, we're friendly, but we don't have a lot to talk about, and I like it when I see them, but like, I wasn't really prepared for this, and the spectrum of interactions is pretty varied, and like a lot of them I'm like, I forgot how to do that.
Yeah, particularly going to shows, like that, you're going from 0 to 60, right? You're going from like, I have seen nobody, period, to now I have to see 100 comics that I haven't spoken to and don't necessarily want to see all of them. Then I also have to so that's one level of interaction. Then I have to interact with the people I actually want to see, and I'm excited. That's another level. Then also like audience members want to talk. That's a whole other thing. It's too much at once, man.
Yeah.
I've been spending this whole thing alone. Like you guys have And the only person I spend a significant time with is 9 years old. So I haven't had other adults to talk to really. So I've been fantasizing about socializing so much that I think like my re-entry was like smooth because I'm like, I've craved this and haven't had any adult conversation, barely.
How has your son dealt with it? How does it affect kids? You know what I mean? The
home learning is a disaster.
Yeah.
For everyone involved, it's like psychologically not good. And he luckily has been at school in person for a while.
I would argue
now.
my teachers felt the same way about me in public school.
Just
at
being
9
there.
years old. It was a disaster. Nothing good came of it.
Psychically, this is very bad for everyone involved. Right. I feel the same way for sure. But you're saying so he's been in school like for a while, like
for a while now. I forget exactly when, but like kind of his school had the option to do it kind of early on. They were like super safe about it. They still don't have school on Wednesdays. Like I don't know why.
COVID day. That's
yeah, basically. And but like everything sort of improved for him. Like once he got to be around other kids. I mean, it's just like they need it, man. It's like it's important.
Think about this. Did you ever have? So when I was in high school, there was definitely kids that were homeschooled, but I think there was like a rule where they had to have some amount of. They would have to like they could be homeschooled up to a point, and then they would have to come to like high school or whatever. So like those homeschool kids were fucking weird because they hadn't had that school experience, and I don't mean that like shittily. They just were like.
Well, yeah.
They didn't have the same type of social skills that the rest of us had, or like learned how to sort of navigate the horrific world that is public school. You know what I mean? So like that's got to be
real bully magnets for sure.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know how to like safeguard themselves.
Yeah.
One of the things that my kids sort of cycled through little interests is like he did like a parkour. Like there's like parkour for kids things. So I take her to this warehouse that this guy had just built like crates and like teaches kids to fucking hop off of them.
That's such a fucking scam.
I know.
Parkour for kids. That's just kids. Kids just run around and jump off of shit.
I
know. They just had to charge you $20 to like let your kid run around a warehouse.
It was dumb as shit, but
that's very funny. But like he enjoyed it. He got to be around other kids and shit. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. There was something kind of off about the other kids that were in there and like the families. I'm like, what's going on with this shit? And I talked to his mom, and she's like, that is like, so like all these like crew of homeschool families use this as their gym class.
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
Yeah.
But you could tell. And I'm like, okay, this makes sense now. I could like, that explains this vibe I'm getting from these children.
Yeah.
Was there like one like aggro dad that was like pushing his kid to excellence in parkour?
Yeah. These kids are going to learn how to jump through playground equipment, which is an important skill in life if you want to fight Bruce Willis at the second act of a movie until you are eventually... Because the parkour villain's never like the big bad. He's always like a third level muscle henchman who's like does some cool flips but is eventually just hit with a rocket launcher or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
It's Cold War again. You got to compete against those Russians. They're the best. They parkour on the sides of buildings. You got to be able to do that.
Those videos are wild. Sometimes I'll like, if I'm too high, I'll like go through YouTube and then I'll see one of those and I'm like, I can't watch this. This is like, they're just jumping off of fucking skyscrapers and shit. It's like, well, I guess you don't have anything to live for, but God.
It makes my extremities tingle. Like literally my fingers tingle when I see them hang off the buildings and stuff like that.
I cannot handle that shit, like, or that rock free climbing shit. Like, I can't look at it.
Yeah.
I watched that Free Solo and I was like, God damn. And like, this is going to, all right, I'm going to just say it. That dude's definitely on the spectrum. And that shit, I think, helps. I've been watching this, and this is a slight duration, but I've been watching this game show, The Chase, which is like regular people have to go up against like Ken Jennings and some other fucking trivia masters in like a trivia contest, and it's like 3 against 1, so it's 3 regular people against 1 Ken Jennings or whoever, and one of those guys is a like trivia master who won a bunch on Jeopardy too, but he's also like a sports bettor. He does sports gambling for a living, one of the trivia ones, and he is very clearly on the spectrum. And I was like, oh, that actually probably This is me not knowing shit again, but like that probably helps, right?
Yeah.
You're probably really good at like stats and knowing numbers and shit, and also like sort of making decisions without emotion on some level.
wow.
You know what I'm saying? That's probably a helpful thing. I think that it's the same thing as I was saying about these lunatic parkour people or free climber guy, free solo guy. He's just like clearly a very on the spectrum dude, also very successful at the thing he does, but like he also then is like, oh, I'm going to climb this mountain with just my fingers or whatever. It's fucking like, oh, I don't know. It's insane.
It's like Robert Downey Jr. in Sherlock Holmes when he maps out all the physics of punching guys in the face.
Word. Well,
So they're basically superheroes, essentially. Is what
yeah,
you said. They're
on some level.
It's sort of like an Ubermensch level human.
Yeah, you have some sort of like that neurodivergent thing. Has like obviously has its drawbacks, but it also I think in many cases has its fucking positives. If I'm trying,
You got to make it work for you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, take Rain Man to Vegas, make some money.
There we go. Let's go ahead and jump into some of these letters, guys. What is your familiarity level with Dear Abby?
I'd read it when I was a kid, when we'd have actual newspapers. Remember those?
Sure.
Like, it would like appear at your house, and you'd read the funnies, and then Dear Abby. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I definitely read it. I had a run where I would read the comics section, and Funky Winkerbean, and then flip over. And occasionally I would read Dear Abby, or what was the other one? She's got a twin sister, right?
Yeah, sister. It was like Dear Abby and
Dear Abby and Ann Landers.
Ann Landers, yeah.
And they're twin sisters. And I actually, a couple years ago, I don't know if it's going to happen, but Natalie Portman was going to make a movie about both of them and play both of the characters. And but I remember this is crazy. I would read Ann Landers or Dear Abby or whichever one it was here and there, and it was always usually like, my husband doesn't like my friends, and when we go to the parties, he wants to leave. That was usually that kind of social stuff. But there's this one, and I cut it out because I was a weird kid, just because I thought it was so weird and funny. There was one this guy wrote in, and he was like, I'm like, he was in his 60s, it was old, so I don't know if it was like 40 or 65, because everything over 18 was old to me.
Sure.
But it was like, I have been having, I'm a widower, and my sister is also a widow, and we've been alone for a long time, and we've started sleeping together, and it's a really good relationship, and we like it a lot. And then I remember Dear Abby's, her response was just, Dear, having fun in Chicago. Sick. And then went into like, incest is wrong and illegal. Yeah. And I remember I thought it was just the craziest thing in the world, and I cut it out. And I would like show it to people.
It's wild to write that to the newspaper. And what did you expect her? Did you expect her to be like, oh, well, I'm glad you found somebody? Like that's never going to be the response.
Sometimes what you're looking for in life has been in front of your face the whole time.
It has been down the hallway in your sister's room the whole time. That's wild.
The concept of trolling wasn't there, but also I'm like, but that had to be somebody having fun, right?
So here's the thing.
To write that out.
That is a very, okay, maybe, but what I have learned by doing this podcast is the amount. So two things. One, people write very personal shit to Dear Abby. Deeply, deeply personal questions about sexual abuse and all kinds of things, right? So the fact that someone would write something very personal doesn't seem crazy. The other thing that I've learned is that people write to Dear Abby thinking they're right all the time. Nobody writes with a situation and goes like, I think I'm fucked up here, help me out. Like, that's never it. So, man, I don't know. We're going to get into some weird ones here where, and I mean, they're not quite as weird as that, but like, you'll see what I mean. Let's jump into a letter. Dear Abby, I'm worried about Grandpa, who is 96. Ever since Grandma died 2 years ago, Gramps has been acting like a playboy. Granted, he works out every day and looks like he's only 70, lives independently in his own home, and still drives a car. However, Grandpa chases around with women half his age, spending money like it's water, going to social events, and sometimes having a cocktail. Abby, how can I get Grandpa to behave himself, keep those gold diggers away, and stop spending my inheritance? I've tried talking to him. He says it's his life. He practices safe sex and to mind my own business. Since it's my inheritance he's wasting, I think it is my business. What do you think about this? Abby signed, worried grandson in Glendale, California. P.S. I'm worried his lifestyle will kill him.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
I think we can agree that.
Dick.
For sure.
This dude's a hero. You should just be happy you inherited his fucking genes.
Yeah.
For sure. Also,
you have your inheritance from this man already.
Yeah.
It's called balls. I would also like to throw in here, he says, P.S. I'm worried his new lifestyle will kill him. That's your only chance. Look, I understand you're trying to get some of this money. I'd be like, oh, let's go out drinking. Here's some more money. Have you tried cocaine, Grandpa? Give that a shot.
You tried candy flipping?
Yeah. Do you want to be a 96-year-old skirt chasing cocktail drinker? What's your goal for 96?
Man, I'm not going to make it that long, but...
Sure. I mean, obviously.
I mean...
I don't mean obviously not you.
Obviously.
96 is wild, right? Most people don't make it to 96.
But if I could be 96 and still have sex, I'd be pretty proud of myself.
I wonder what you're getting into at 96, though. It seems like, well, of half your age.
You got a 50-year-old running around. She's probably a real smoke show for 96. I got to be honest with you. I'm tired already. Like, that seems like so much. At some point, I just want to fucking, settle into this couch groove. You know what I'm saying? 96.
That sounds tiring.
It does sound like a lot. 96, you're running around, social events. I don't like going to social events now.
That's more than twice my age.
Yeah.
That's like more...
Yeah.
That's 53 years in the future. Like, I can't even...
Yeah.
First of all, what does that year look like? Like, what is 2070, whatever
at that point, we're running around with our neural implants, so it really won't be as exhausting. We'll be
Grandpa's having that Demolition Man virtual sex or whatever. Yeah, it's not as big of a deal.
We'll be a giant lawnmower man, bad CGI face.
I am old here. For the 8 people who...
I was one of them. I was...
well done. This fucking grandson, though, like, he couldn't even be bothered to make himself not seem like a scumbag in this letter, right? If he leaves out the two sentences where he mentions his inheritance, this could be a concerned grandson. A bit of a fucking wet blanket, but also like a fucking straight up square, but like... He could have just been a concerned grandson. He's 96. He's going out drinking. He's got these women running around. He could be concerned, but you had to be like, I want my fucking money? That's wild.
Yeah, what happened in the 2 generations from the grandpa to the grandson where the grandson ended up like a greedy Mennonite? This dude seems awesome. And it's like, what the fuck happened?
Dad doesn't even come up. My question is, I wonder if Dad's dead already. I feel like Dad's probably went out at 75. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? If he's 96, how old do you think the dad is? Dad's not 60 likely.
I never have planned on any inheritance, it's, my parents are okay, but I just don't ever, it's not an equation on anything ever. And I've heard of even people like far off in family stuff getting in these crazy family fights that don't involve my family, but they're distantly related over people, these fights over $20,000, $30,000, which is a lot of money. And I would happily take $30,000 from wherever, but to not have a relationship with the rest of your family, if you had a good relationship up to that point, and it's fucking crazy, man.
Dude, I tell you what, my ex-wife is a trust and estates lawyer. So that's what she did. She fucking worked on cases where families were, fighting over this shit. Yeah. The stuff that would go on in families was insane. Like there was like a box of pictures that no one could fucking decide who gets what picture. By the way, this was well within the period of time of scanning. So what they did, they had in the courtroom, like they spread all the pictures out on the floor of the fucking courtroom in front of the judge, and they had to all like work it out between each other in the courtroom for a box of pictures.
These people have to have money, right? Because poor people are not calling a lawyer, taking off time from work to figure out fucking Thanksgiving pictures from 30 years ago. That's just not a thing.
These were wealthy families, but she worked with the firm, Those are the ones that got into the weird fucking disputes.
And it's a bummer. It's crazy, too. Well, I mean, I guess on some level it makes sense that the wealthy people would be more concerned because there's just more money kicking around. But, like, poor people are the one that need that shit. You know what I'm saying? That 20 grand, if you're fucking drowning, is a life jacket for sure. But, yeah, no, that's wild. I think we can say to this guy, leave your fucking grandpa alone. Let him go be cool. He is 96, so chances are I don't like him. Like, if I'm being realistic, a 96-year-old man and I are probably not going to be friends. We probably don't see eye to eye on things. But fuck it, man. He made it this far. Let him have his golden years. Let's go ahead and jump in. We've got some more letters here. Oh, let's do this one. This is gross. Dear Abby, I don't know what to do. Last week, I caught my next-door neighbor peeping into the bedroom window of a very pretty neighbor across the street. When I confronted him, he begged me not to tell his wife, giving all kinds of psychological reasons for his behavior, including his upbringing. Let me add that when my husband and I moved...
I was raised horny.
Yeah. My first gift was a stepladder, and I just used it ever since. Let me add that when my husband and I moved into our home 7 years ago, we had a peeping Tom at our bedroom window. This neighbor now admits it was he, and that he also liked to listen to our bedroom activities. Now he claims that being caught has completely changed him. He has promised it will never happen again. Somehow, I don't buy it. This man and his wife are a young couple. Who have announced they have planned to make a baby in the fall. That is in quotation marks, make a baby. I worry about the child they want to bring into the world and the consequences of having this guy as a father. It's difficult to act normal in front of his wife. We were becoming friends and entertained them as dinner guests a few times. We helped each other with yard work and household improvements. Now I feel extremely uncomfortable around them. I think his wife has noticed the strained feeling. Should I tell her what I know? My husband says I should stay out of it, but this has been bothering me to the point that I feel like installing security cameras on all sides of our home. How should I handle this, Abby? I need your advice quick. Signed, Worried Neighbor. I don't like saying call the cops because ACAB, but like I listen to too many white lady true crime podcasts. That man is a serial killer in the making. That's how that shit always starts.
Well, what?
Yeah, Mike's getting a little defensive. MacRae, what's up?
I was gonna say that like this is called a paraphilia. Like it's like a weird way that someone gets off. It's absolutely fucking unacceptable.
Sure.
But it's probably if that's all this is, that's probably harmless enough that he can be treated with therapy. But yeah, he needs to go fix that, or the fucking cop. Yeah, or this guy needs to be told you either fix this, or there's going to be fucking consequences. Either I tell you, if you're against the cops, tell the fucking wife.
You got to tell I think bare minimum, you got to tell the wife. Like, you live around, like, I don't know how you walk around. Like, obviously, I don't like snitching or whatever, but it's like she needs to know who she's fucking living in the house with. Like, this
and does she not know? Is this, I guess she's like, he waits to the wife to fall asleep and he prowls out. Well,
I mean, I'm assuming. It would be very weird if he was like, all right, honey, see you later. Going to look in the neighbor's windows. Be back in a couple hours.
You see, like, he's not like going to a different neighborhood.
Maybe his wife doesn't kink shame like you guys. Okay,
could be. Could be.
The bare minimum, yeah. What are you waiting on the security cameras? They're like, they're $80. Go get them.
Yeah, for sure. Nest is very cheap.
And then you just that's just a quick email, but it does seem like kind of like flashers, old school flashers. Peeping Toms are kind of a bit of an antiquated thing now that we got these computers that we can do that on. So it's that's what almost makes me fear more that he is a future serial killer, because I think that the peepingness is done all like most like it used to be done probably by a bunch of guys because they were so locked in and like they couldn't afford to go get Hustlers like $9. That's like $40 in now money or whatever, and that's the only way you could see a boob or whatever. So people had to resort to going around and doing some peeping. But now, you know, I bet there's less of it because of that. But if you're still driven to where you gotta go just watch the dirty panty change, then you're a couple steps away from, and you look like my mother, so you have to die or whatever.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man, I listen to too many true crime podcasts, and it's all about escalation. They all start as fucking flashers or peeping toms, and then they go into breaking and entering and stealing panties. There's usually a hurting an animal in the middle there, but that shit is never good. Now, the only thing I will say that goes to this guy's sort of benefit of the doubt, if I will, is that he's been doing this for a very long time. Right? What we know is he did it 7 years ago when these people first moved into this house. He's still doing it in the same neighborhood. So it looks like maybe he's not escalating, but this is some very severe fucking, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a very severe fucking, you're getting into invasion of privacy, right? At the very least.
It's unacceptable. It's fucking shitty and gross and fucked up. But I'm sorry, I'm going to liken like your, the true crime podcast or whatever, I'm going to say that's like, well, yeah, okay, every hardcore drug user probably did start with pot, but then you can't reverse engineer and say that like pot is like some people just stop at pot.
Sure, most of us. The majority of us.
Right, yeah. So you can point to those extreme cases you're talking about, yeah. Sure. But I mean, I think this is just a weird. Some people get off from weird shit.
That's very true.
It's antisocial, and that's a problem. Sometimes it's not antisocial. No one's being hurt by it.
Was he? Yeah. I guess he didn't say whether he was like caressing himself.
Yeah,
while
they just said he was peeping. I don't know that it makes any difference. Like, if you're looking in my window, you're jerking off, you're not jerking off, you're still looking at me. But clearly, he was listening to them fuck in their bedroom. Like, they're still he's still doing that for that purpose. Whether he's going home to jerk off or he's jerking off in the bush. To me, that's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. But
I don't know, though. I'm a little like, I would be less, because, you know, there's definitely a lot of images I've captured in my brain for later. But,
well, of course. But there is a difference between seeing things you are either allowed to see and putting that in the old spank bank, or you caught a random glimpse of a thing that you weren't trying to see that you also then stored for later.
True.
Like, that's fine. That's just happened by accident. There's a big difference between that and, like, in the cover of darkness looking in your neighbor's window.
Dude.
So it's a very different
Oh, for sure.
I had this living situation once where I had to, like, smoke out of this sort of small window and, like, blow it out, and, like, like, in order to do that, my head was like had to be in a certain position, and across the street was this apartment where this fucking gorgeous woman had the fucking shades up and was fucking walking around naked, and it's like, I'm like, I know I should not look at this, but I was put in this position where I'm like, I can't really move my head. Like, do I have the moral willpower to just close my eyes while I sit here and smoke a cigarette? It was a real moral dilemma. It was kind of rough.
But also so in that situation, yes, you obviously, there's a moment where you go, okay, she doesn't know I'm looking. This is weird. But that is also a human, I think a very human thing. I think roles are reversed. I think anybody that's like, oh, I'm seeing something I'm not supposed to see, it's going to take at least a minute for you to realize, oh, wait, let me put the cigarette out or whatever. You know what I mean? That's just like the human instinct to see a naughty thing is not terrible. And again, it's an accident. Like, you can't be held accountable for like some shit that happens in front of you.
Right.
Yeah. And there's definitely a difference between you having a smoke break from your house and having to clumsily climb over a loose chain link fence.
Exactly.
There's
standing
no
on an AC unit outside of somebody's window trying to get a better view.
There's no shrubbery involved. Or whatever.
I don't feel great. I know this is weird. I don't know that I feel good living next to this dude. Like, just, you know what I mean? I know that seems weird, but like, that is knowing I have a creep next door that is like actively being a creep and is not just being a creep in his own house. That's like a very unsettling thing. I feel bad for this person.
It's kind of menacing.
Yeah.
I think you camera up, and you
Camera
can
up for
even
sure.
do the old camera up, and even get a couple cameras if you can't afford it that don't work, and put them up because people don't know, and you just go like, man,
True.
can see all the
or
stuff
you
all the time.
get a real Nest, catch him in the act, put that shit on next door. That's the end of that shit. He's moving.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that the husband of the person who wrote the letter was just like, stay out of it. Like, he watched me fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I'd go fucking kill this dude.
I
Maybe
think the
that's-
husband. I think the
fucking
husband's
handle.
into it. You talk
Yeah,
about
I
this
was about
guy
to say,
has a
that's
weird
his
thing.
kink.
That's it exactly.
They knew each other from the past, and they purposely moved in next door. This
Yeah.
is a long game these two dudes have been playing for fucking 20 years.
Yeah. This is one of them birds that lives on the back of a rhinoceros or whatever. This is a parasocial relationship.
It's a symbiotic relationship.
There
He's like a peep sub, I guess maybe you call it.
Yeah. There's voyeurs, and then there's whatever. Right? There's people who like to look and people who like to be watched. Like,
wow.
That's worked itself out. Here's the thing: this guy needs to, like, I don't know where he lives because it doesn't say. Or was it Glendale? No, just his worried neighbor. We all live in Texas. You gotta be careful, man. Somebody's gonna blow your fucking head off. You understand what I'm saying? Someone has been waiting for the chance to blow your head off. You just got lucky. You live next to the right dude.
Yeah, my father-in-law is waiting for that is his dream.
Yeah.
Keeper that he gets to shoot, and it's Texas, and he just moved here, so it's like Texas is that's the state motto is we like to shoot peepers.
Yeah. That's like what the carnival game would be. Like in Texas, instead of like ducks going by, it should be creepy dudes' heads poking in the frame that you shoot with a BB gun for sure.
I mean, a warning shot? I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to scare this guy off somehow. He's clear. I can't imagine that this is the first time he's been caught. You know what I'm saying? It's been so long going that it seems wild that this is the first time he's been caught.
Problem is, if he finishes right when you take a warning shot, then that thing is
coming in. Now he can only know when
his philia is that much thicker and deeper.
He can only come at like nudist shooting ranges or something. It's a weird. Yeah.
Which he now has to invent because.
Well, now we're getting into capitalism. He's going to start a new business. There's a model. He's got to figure out if there's a model for it. He can support that for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to our next question. Which one do I want to go? I like this one just because they're old people. Dear Abby, we have a unique problem and hope you can help us. We are members of a quilt making club. The quilts we make are well thought of. Once a year, we raffle one of them off, and therein lies our problem. The man who won this year's quilt is not very well thought of. In fact, some people here consider him scum. Nevertheless, his name was drawn, and we draw only once. The ladies were shocked. They stood there with their mouths open. Some of them said if they had known he'd be the winner, they would have not worked so hard on the quilt. Others suggested that we draw again, which in fact we did. Then one club member spoke up and said it wasn't fair. The man won the quilt fair and square. Buying a raffle ticket was the only requirement involved. I can see no way around giving that man the quilt. I believe honesty is the best policy. Can you help us do the right thing? Signed, Trouble in Paradise.
Yes. Sounds like paradise. That is the biblical idea of heaven to me. Old women that argue about quilts.
Old catty bitches talking about quilts. Now, here's where I'd say people often write in making themselves, they write in thinking they're right. I argue how many people consider this man, quote unquote, scum. You know what I'm saying? That seems like a person that is universally considered scum doesn't seem like the same person that's buying a raffle ticket for a quilt. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem like that dude's activities.
Well, yeah, she's doing that thing where she purposely doesn't elaborate on what she's talking about because, like, if she were to I see people do this all the time. If they have to actually say what it is they don't like about the person, then they know that other people are going to be like, that's not a big deal.
That's not a thing. Yeah.
So they just have to say, oh, they're bad. They're scum.
Yeah.
I mean, scum.
Just try to convince other people of it by just labeling them.
Yeah, scum doesn't buy quilts.
People do that about me all the time. That's why I know about this.
But also, like, if you're 100% right, because if this was like the town pedophile, they would have for sure been like, oh, this guy's the fucking child molester that lives down the street. We're not giving him a quilt. Like, it wouldn't even be a letter. You know what I'm saying?
Scumbags don't buy quilts. Scumbags buy Snuggies. That's all there is to it. That's...
Scumbags don't have bedding. I've been a scumbag.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Oh, yeah, me
you
too.
Just don't have sheets. You just sleep on a mattress in a hoodie because you're fucking an ass. You're a piece of shit.
Based on the tone of this letter, I'm going to assume this man just simply swears.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. He just like drinks beer on his porch and doesn't really bother anybody. 100%. I just brought it up because, and I'm hoping I can give you 1 second to pull up, because I actually found someone else writing in about the same. No, there's no way I'm going to find it. Somebody else wrote in another letter. I thought I had copied and pasted that said, I live in that neighborhood. That man's just poor. Like, they were just like, he's perfectly nice. He's kind to people. He just looks, he's just not, he's just kind of poor. And I was like, yeah, of course these quilt making bitches just don't. Yeah, I only really grabbed that letter. I figured we'd all pretty much agree pretty quickly. But like, I want to ask a couple questions. One, small town, yeah? We're assuming this is like a small town. All white ladies, do we think? Is this quilt group all white ladies, or is there one Hispanic lady and she's the one that stood up and said, hey, we got to give this guy his quilt. He won the thing. This feels, this just has catty old white lady energy to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I definitely can see. I don't know that.
It's hard to say because old black ladies can be very fucking catty, but I don't think they write the letter. I think they just throw his fucking ticket away and keep it moving. I don't think we get to this part where they're like torn on it.
This is a real Dominion counting machine situation.
Yeah.
Now, how can you trust any quilt lottery raffle? This is what's tearing this country apart.
Yeah. This is fake news.
I mean, yeah, I think it's like, this sounds like small town white lady, but just like sort of demographically like that. Like my dad came from a place like that, and it's just like a small town in the Midwest, and it's probably a church group.
Sure.
And churches tend to be segregated in small towns, rural. That's just how it shakes out or whatever. So yeah, I'm going to guarantee these are most likely all white.
Yeah.
There's women.
I have another
permanent.
Go ahead.
There's some ruined relationships over this incident too. There's irrevocably ruined lifetime friendships that probably became.
Well, yeah, because it does sound like some of the women stood up for the guy.
One lady.
Just one. Okay.
One lady. They drew a second time to get another winner.
Yeah.
And one lady stood up and said, "We can't do that. He won his fucking quilt." But I also want to say that like these women have been doing this for a long time. This has that energy of like, there's always a lot of weird political shit going on. And when I say political, I don't mean like Democrat, Republican. I just mean that inner politics within the group kind of shit. That is like people, there's like a struggle for power of who's going to lead the quilt group. And
in small towns, that's how you preoccupy yourselves with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you got nothing else to do. I do have one other short letter I want to read. It doesn't super connect here, but they don't have a lot to discuss. I just think it's a funny thing to read. Dear Abby, my husband wants me to, this is very short. My husband wants me to start my own business because he hates paying the government 4 months of his salary. I don't think I'm cut out to be a businesswoman. How can I stop him from hassling me about it?
What?
How? Yes, that's the whole that's the whole letter.
What?
That's the whole letter. How many Trump flags? How QAnon do you think the person that wrote that letter is? Like, you understand what I'm saying? It's the same energy. It has like, it's not the same energy as the quilters, but that is white, racist, sovereign citizen energy going on. You know what I'm talking about?
There's a truck that is not covered, that there's not an inch of the truck on the entire body that's not covered with a bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Owned by somebody involved there.
Yeah, for sure.
First of all, what's this tax-free business that
I don't understand what he thinks. I don't know what he thinks is happening. Where he thinks for some reason if you own your own business, that's it, you're out. He thinks he's just gonna be Amazon. I think he's read that Jeff Bezos, like Amazon didn't pay income tax or whatever. And he's like, oh well, that's it then. I'm gonna be Jeff Bezos. But no, you're selling fucking koozies on Pinterest. You're not gonna have this. Yeah, you don't have a tax shelter in the Cayman Islands.
Corporate tax loopholes, they come later on down the road from startup. Like,
yeah. And also,
4 months?
4 months salary. I was coming in.
Who's doing your taxes?
You're paying a third of your fucking income in taxes, my guy? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you know, they're not the best in town, but I know you have H&R Block in your town. I think that Lyle or whoever works there will get you a better deal on that.
100%.
Like, yeah, start out with just checking your deductions before you force your wife to start a business.
Keep your toll receipts or whatever. You can, you can for sure come up. You know, you can write off Crocs at your job as fucking TGI Fridays because they're non-slips. Like, you can for sure get a better job deal on your taxes.
It's just such a weird solution to a problem. Like, man, this sucks. I need my wife to start a business.
My wife? What is he doing? That's another question. He doesn't seem to have his own business. She doesn't say he wants me to start a business like him. It's like it's such a succinct short letter that there's so much left out.
The most non-linear thinking that I've heard in any of these letters so far.
It makes me laugh really hard. Let's go ahead and jump into another letter. MacRae, I'm curious what you think about this one. Dear Abby, my 10-year-old daughter, Amber, stays home 1 or 2 hours by herself after school until I return home from work. She has rules to go by. However, she has been known to break them. Amber answers the door when she shouldn't and leaves the door unlocked. She doesn't take seriously the bad things that can happen to her. I have an idea that may put her in touch with reality.
Oh, no.
I'm thinking of asking a male friend to go to my house and knock on the door, which I know Amber will answer. At that time, my friend would pretend to be a pushy salesman. He would insist on coming into the house and waiting for her mother. That's as far as I've gotten. Is this a bad idea? I don't want to scare her to having nightmares, but I want her to know how important it is to be wary of strangers and to follow the rules. Signed, Concerned Knoxville Mom. Mike, as a sole parent in the group, you think traumatizing your child is a good idea? I don't understand.
First of all, you're setting this male friend up to get shot by the fucking cops.
Jesus Christ!
They're reporting him in serious jeopardy there. Like in his last words, you're gonna be like, "I'm not really a salesman."
Yeah, that's so much worse. Yeah, exactly. No.
What if this universe these letters are all in a connected universe, and it's the Peeping Tom guy she sent?
That's why you gotta tell people. She don't know.
The twist.
The people don't know.
Twist.
Yeah. You're inviting a pedophile. That's so fucking. It is.
Yeah.
She's getting her parenting skills from fucking Arrested Development when she hired the one-armed man to scare everybody. It's insane, right?
Yeah,
like that's just is that something parents like? We're both in our 40s. That's not something like it's not a thing our parents had done to them. You know what I mean? I don't even understand. It's not like this is just like old-timey parenting skills. You know what I mean?
I mean, there was definitely like, you need to be taught a lesson and then like something bad happens or whatever.
Yeah.
But this sort of like
never like, you needed to be taught a lesson the way they do on Punk'd.
Right.
This is how Ashton raises his kids.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone stage a soft abduction before. Like to like drill a point home.
No,
this girl needs to do that shit. Like
don't answer the door, lock the door. All that shit's important.
I leave to go on a walk, and I'm like, don't answer the door, and then blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But my kid came like pre-traumatized. Like he came out of the womb like that.
Like kind of like he's kind of naturally scared.
Yes. So our job is to like get him to be unscared of things. So like anytime I'm like, that's dangerous, don't do it. He's like, got it. Fuck, no way.
Yeah.
Which has made our job pretty easy in that regard.
That I feel like now we're dealing with. I watch too much TikTok. I scroll through TikTok a lot in the middle of the night when I can't sleep or whatever, and there is a lot of we're dealing with the QAnon like human trafficking scares. So everybody is trying to like it's scaring their kids into thinking they're constantly going to be kidnapped. So their human traffickers are just waiting for you everywhere you go. But it's also the parent. It's like the parents are now like. I was in Target and I saw two people speaking Spanish. They must have been speaking about abducting my children or whatever. Like it's wild.
It is 100%, because I think we're all in the same age group.
Mhm.
It is the 80s satanic panic all over
Yeah.
again right now. There was, 'cause
Absolutely.
I grew up in, medium-sized suburb of Dallas, and the whole time I was told there are roving bands of Satan worshipers in your town that are actively looking to abduct and kill kids and your pets along with you. And I always go like, it's weird that seems like that would make the news more often if more,
Yeah.
but it never did. But it was still told to me as the fact.
So
you know?
whole fact. Absolutely.
It is built. No, it's built into American society. Yes, it is the '80s satanic panic,
Yeah.
rolling all the way back to the Salem witch craze. I mean, it's just like baked in to. I mean, all societies have this, but like in our country, we just have
It
these.
feels like we have
there's
it
a pattern.
more. Yeah,
I think
yeah.
no. I think you're right.
But a lot of that is the sort of puritanical evangelical Christian thing that's super part of that religious.
Well,
but
there's usually a religious component.
But what's interesting is now, I mean, yes, the QAnoners are all pretty fucking creepily, I'm sure, like religious, if you watch enough documentaries or whatever. But it's not that now. It is now, if you look at it, it's not tied into Satanism. It is the same, theoretically, it's the same thing, but that's not the fear. They're not going like Satanists are coming for you. It's just quote unquote human traffickers. Everybody has watched too many Takens, and they all think that somebody's just going to try to, like, they're terrified of white slavery, of being sold into white slavery, which is like, that doesn't happen. Like, people aren't sold, like, people don't get kidnapped at Target and sold into white slavery. People are sex trafficked by their parents or other people they know. That's just how that works. We got off the fucking subject of this poor girl who does not need to be fucking, you can't.
Well, there are dark undertones to this letter. I mean,
you can't. But also,
none of us could take the.
You're
blame.
trying to teach a lesson. You can't. You have to smoke the rest of the pack. This girl into like not being.
Yes,
kidnapped,
okay, that's a good
mean?
example of that weird that you need to be taught a lesson type shit. Obviously, that's a bad thing too. But like,
tie it back to another letter. Buy an $80 camera. Put it at the door. When she knocks the door, yell at her when she gets home.
Yeah. That's easy. You could tell. Yeah, that seems like. Also, I'm not a parent, so I should. Well, I could judge. I don't like saying that. People say, "Oh, you're not a parent. You shouldn't judge people's parenting." Yeah, I should. I was a kid. Like I've been parented. I can totally judge when someone's being a bad parent. But yeah, that's it. Just put a fucking nest in, and then you can just see. Look, you open the door. Don't fucking open the door. Yeah. And if your kid can't learn to not open the door, she doesn't get to stay home alone. Like you got to figure some shit out. Because that is a thing. You can't open the door for strangers or whatever. But like, yeah, I don't think fucking having a guy show up in a fucking Jason mask is the way to go about it. These people.
Although it is kind of funny.
It is hilarious. Don't get me wrong.
If you're not a parent, it's kind of funny.
Yeah. I think we got time for one more. Dear Abby, my neighbors John and Marcia those are in quotes. Are such a nice couple. I'm not sure what to do. I don't know them at all, but what's going on is extremely upsetting. On several occasions, I've seen a woman park her car near my home after dark and walk to the back door of their house. About an hour later, I see John let her out the front door. He even has the nerve to kiss her goodbye right on the front porch. I'm sure he's slipping in this tart for sex right under his wife's nose. I want to tell Marcia what's going on, but I'm unsure how to go about it. I have contemplated just going over, knocking on the door, and blurting it out. I've also considered writing her an anonymous letter. What's the right way to let someone know that their husband is cheating on her in her own house while she's there? Signed, not nosy, just concerned, New Cumberland, Pennsylvania. That is... So, can we...
Oh, honey.
That... No one is cheating on their wife while their wife's home. That's just not a thing. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I mean,
Like, that's not a thing. Nobody's like, oh, honey, are you going to sleep? I'm going to cheat on you in the basement. That's just not how that works.
I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, my thought is maybe it's a poly thing, man.
There's so any number of things. That could be his daughter. Like, there's any number of things that could be going on here, right? But yeah, also, that's, like, if it is a sexual kiss happening on the porch and he's kissing her goodbye, like that, yeah, then, like, obviously the wife's in on this woman, fucking nosy ass old people, man. How, like, she's clearly old. Also, what I don't like is that she includes the city. You're not supposed to do that. New Cumberland, Pennsylvania is not a big town.
Yeah, it's not like Seattle or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Have y'all ever had to tell a friend, like, because, I mean, if it's a close friend, you find out they're getting cheated on, you got to tell them. Have you ever had to tell a friend about that? Like, been the one to break the news?
I've never had to do that, man. I've never been in that situation. I'm glad.
Luckily, I have not. Well, that's not true. I have been. What I should say is that I have been a coward in that situation and not said anything when I knew something's happening. And now, to be neither, like, I wasn't better friends with one than the other. It wasn't like I was covering for my boy. I wasn't super good friends with either of them. I was friends enough that going back, I probably should have said something. It was like sort of a known thing in our friend group, and this was sort of like a sort of towards the edge of our friend group situation that was happening. So going back, I feel like I probably, if it was happening now, I would say something because, like, I'm a fucking adult. But I was 20 or something at the time, and it felt, I don't know, I was scared. Yeah. What about you, Wiebe? Have you ever had to?
Yeah, it's just it felt awful, and I had to work myself up to it for like a week or two, and then finally get it out, and I was real shaky. It was like asking a girl out for the first time. You're like, I just want. You know, sometimes people have things, and I'm not saying that she for sure, but for sure, and maybe you should. And
how
I
did
think
you?
They kind of knew already. There was already an idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is not fun. But I do think that
how did the person? Because I feel like that can go one of two ways. They can either like get mad at you because they don't want to. You know what I mean? Like there's a
they knew it and were super cool with it. But you could tell they were super bummed out. There was that moment of like, yeah, I'm gonna leave and let you be mad, and because I could easily see you focusing some of that on me because I didn't have like, I didn't have like pictures or anything. Sure. But I was like, I knew. And, but I don't know. You have to be really close to somebody. It was one of those things where I was just, I was really close with this person. So I was like, I got to do this. I would want him to do the same for me. But it is a thing of like, I don't know. I've also been in your situation, Chris, where there were people that like I'm friends with, but I don't have the photos, but I know it's definitely happening. But I'm also like, I don't really. I need one more thing to go ahead and convict here or whatever.
And it was like
how did you know about the other one?
I saw something.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And like my thing also was that the person they were cheating with was also in the friend group, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was just like such a weird, messy situation. And like I said, going back, I probably would like say something now, but at the time it was like, man, I just don't want to be like, you're gonna figure this out. There's like, it was just too much. Like, I don't know, it was weird, and I was a bitch. I think is the best way to describe that situation. This person, though, on the other hand, doesn't even know these people. That's wild. Like, she says, like, I don't really know them is one of the lines. So, like, even if he is cheating on his wife, where are you fitting in the situation? Like, with two strangers. I get that you live in the same neighborhood, but
from this woman's perspective, here's how I interpret what she's saying. How do I stop this awesome television show that I've started watching before it gets to the season finale? Like, I ain't saying shit. I'm going to see where this is going. Because if this dude really is pulling off banging some other broad while his wife is chloroformed or whatever.
The Ocean's 13 of cheating on your wife.
Dude. It's the highest level.
That is a high level of difficulty for sure.
Yeah, it is great.
Is Tom Cruise dipping down on the rope, barely almost touching the ground there. Because if you cut it off now, you're not going to see the and that is happening, and you cut it off now, you're not going to see that. You're right. The amazing finale where there's I don't know, out in the yard, there's like a flamethrower and a llama runs out, and somebody's got a harpoon gun, and everyone's dressed in bondage, and they're shooting at each other. It's going to be great. Because that will come to a head if that is happening.
Oh, for sure. If that's happening, that might end in a fucking homicide. Like that is for sure. I just also the other thing you learn by doing this podcast and reading too many Dear Abby letters is that people need to learn how to mind their own goddamn business. Like,
that's a running theme here.
Yeah, for sure. This isn't even your friend. This is a neighbor that you don't have much to deal with, and you are trying to get involved with zero evidence. All you know is someone comes to their house and then leaves later. That's all she knows. So, like, that's a math tutor for their kid. You have no fucking clue who this person is. It's wild. Again, also real white lady energy.
Yeah, I can't imagine a world where I notice something like that going on. I've got a TV, I've got a bunch of comics and books and a guitar, and also I'm just tired all the time. What world am I where I'm clocking the neighbors coming in? And I love I'm not nosy. I'm just
not nosy, just concerned. No, you're the absolute nosiest. And I know when a neighbor gets a new dog because they walk it past my house, but outside of that, I don't know who's coming and going at your house. My neighbor across the street, he R.I.P. died a while ago, used to sell drugs, and he was a great neighbor. He took care, like he would come across, mow our elderly neighbor's lawn and take in her trash and shit, and then he would sell drugs. And you know what I did? I shut the fuck up. Every once in a while, he'd come over a little too drunk, and he'd like talk to us while we were on the porch, and then he'd leave. But like, that's a thing. I knew what was happening because I knew what was happening, and I still didn't get involved because like it's none of my goddamn business, man. And it's like, it's also not affecting the neighborhood.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? It's quiet. People who do crime like to be quiet about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and this is just. Old ladies, man.
And it also shouldn't be a crime. Like,
no, it's clearly not a crime. Also, like, she's like, I thought about walking over and just blurting it out to a couple of imagine you're these people. The neighbor, you don't know her. She's constantly looking out her window, but you don't know this woman. And then she comes over, knocks on the door, and just starts making wild accusations at you. Ah, man, that almost sounds kind of fun, honestly.
Yeah.
And the wife's like, Trisha? You mean our bang bunny? What? No, she's she's great.
Yeah, the luckiest person is the neighbor of the woman who's catching them, because no matter what, she's going to see something crazy go down when the lady confronts.
This is a real thing. This is Corey Feldman in The Burbs. I just like to sit on the porch and watch. Yeah, for sure. Well, guys, this has been a blast. Mr. Wiebe, you got anything you want to plug? Where can people find your podcast? All that good stuff.
Yeah, podcasts are all the podcast places, the Spotify's and all that stuff, and Apple. It's there's one called Zach and Mike Make 3, and then there's another one called the International News Service. And my band Riverboat Gamblers, we have we covered a Ramones song, and we got one of the Ramones, CJ, one of the last living Ramones, to sing on it, which is insane. That's 7 inches up for pre-order right now if you go to any of our socials.
Go do that for sure. Mr. MacRae, where can we find you on the internet? What's going on?
You can find me at Mike MacRae Mike on Twitter. You can hear me every week on the Jimmy Dore Show, where I do comedy sketches with Jimmy Dore. And if you live in Houston, Texas, you can come see me live at Rudyard's this Saturday, May 8th. Will this be out?
This will be out on Friday, so yeah, for sure.
Okay, so tomorrow, May 8th at Rudyard's, go to theriothtx.com for tickets and information.
Definitely go check that out. I am at Chris Cubis on all social media. I will be on the Faded LA Comedies Drunk Spelling Bee this Friday. So when you're listening to this tonight, check my social for the link. And then I am at the Paramount on the 13th at the Stateside doing home base with a bunch of awesome comics here in Austin. Nice. So I actually think that show's already sold out. So unfortunately, if you don't have tickets already, I don't know why I'm telling you this. And we'll be back next week with more bad advice.